Probably, I'm sure I will forget something and do it out of order, but we'll do the best we can. It is now 5:02. We're going to call this meeting to order, and pursuant to Government Code 551.074, 551.072, 551.076, 551.071, and 551.074, we are going to recuse ourselves to closed session, and we will see you shortly.
Get to hit it again. We are trained.
Whack-a-mole. For the record, it's 5:48. We're now back in open session. And we're going to go straight to Human Resources under Section 3, Ms. James. Section C.
Okay, good evening, Board. I would like to ask that we approve the personnel report as presented by the superintendent.
We've been presented with an issue. Can I get a motion, please?
Just for the general HR.
For the general HR report is presented in closed session. Excuse me.
I make the motion that we approve the HR report.
This isn't the whole HR.
As presented.
Second.
Received a motion and a second. I will take votes now. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay,
It
Mr.
carries.
President, that was not the whole HR request. There's another motion that I need to ask for.
Ms. Harris, please come through.
Thank you all very much. It is an honor and a privilege to serve.
A special person wants to make an official motion, so you stay right there.
I am that special person.
It-
And I would like to make the motion that Tanya Harris become the official principal of Waxahachie High School.
I have a motion to present Ms. Harris with the job at the high school. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's motion and seconded. We'll now vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome, Ms. Harris.
Girls, can we get y'all on the picture too? Come on out here. You can let the board members in there too. Let's let the board members get in first around Ms. Harris, and then we'll let you guys get in. Sorry, I didn't know quite so. Maybe put them like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So, board members, y'all go ahead and get in. And then why don't we let's have the charmers stand up, and let's have the cheerleaders kneel in front. Let's try that.
Oh, there we go.
Mr. Robinson, can we turn off the screen? Mr. Robinson.
Yes, we can. Don't take that picture. Classic.
Thanks. Sorry, guys. All right, perfect. Ready? Fantastic. Thank y'all.
And thank you to our charmers and our cheerleaders.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna come this way, guys.
Thank y'all for coming. Thank you for being a good principal here.
Y'all stay warm. It's cold out there.
Okay, fire them back up.
At this point, we're going to work backwards a little bit on our agenda and jump to our pledge and prayer from Ms. Starnader and Mrs. Timmerman. You rise. Whichever way you want.
Pledge allegiance
Will you please bow your heads with me? Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening asking for your guidance as we make decisions that are kids first decisions. And we pray for all those in our community who may be grieving. And also, it's December, and we just want to pray for all of our WISD family to have a wonderful holiday season. We ask all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Ms. Bridges, do we have anybody in section B here?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, pass. Not apply for recognition, we have. We want to wait 5 minutes to get there.
If we could wait maybe after Mr. Craig's project manager report, because I think there may be some more students.
That'd be great. Mr. Craig, can you give us a report?
It's like a proud parent coming up here.
All right. Good evening, board, administrators, guests. I am looking forward to giving this report. Let's see. Figure this thing out here. Look at there. I did it, Mr. Robinson. Awesome. All right. We absolutely are making great progress. This past week especially, we had pretty decent weather all week long, and we really made hay. We really did. As we go through here, and I'm going to try to do this pretty quickly because there's quite a few slides here. You all recall that beam that we raised?
We have had so much good publicity and so many good comments, and the weather did not help.
It did not, and I made a slideshow, and I don't know if you caught it as you were coming in. I will try to just send it to everyone because we simply didn't have time for it to show through tonight. But
I think everyone really enjoyed that, and it was one of those good things. Thank you. It's one of those good things that people always remember about that school. I know some of the guys who were working there said they were going to bring their kids by the school and say, my name is up there. So it was really a good thing, a real win-win.
it was, it was a little cold and a little wet, but it was a good thing. I didn't hear one complaint from anyone, and I think everybody knew that this would be a very memorable event. And thank you all for coming. And as you can see in that beam there, I don't know if you can see the names up there, but there are a lot of names and a lot of little messages that were written up there. I think it was well worth the time. We have been very busy. This ugly yellow that you see here is quickly being covered by beautiful brick. And in fact, those two walls right now, before this week is out, will be covered with brick. And we started on the side of the gym. If you look over to the left here, up about 10 feet on the gym, all that has been foamed, and that is now bricked. And as we get through here towards the end, you'll see that in some other slides. But all of the steel is up. The crane has actually been taken down. I've actually got a picture of us taking that crane down. And believe it or not, the chip and seal street on Haven is in. It's there. And we are so glad. And this picture on the right here is actually Washington Avenue. So they'll be starting on that pretty quickly. They did not make their timeline. They thought they would have that done by December the 6th. Well, they obviously haven't gotten that done yet. So, but we're okay. We have met all the criteria. We can get, Mr. Rogers, we can get a fire truck both in the front, all the way around it now. We are good. As you can see, this is the progress here. And you can see all that wall. See in the background on that wall, that's the gym wall. You can see it is covered, and this is the street that we have in place now. And the switchgear is in place. The transformer on the right there is in place. We're just waiting now for the electrician to get caught up. They were kind of, we can't do anything, and now it's all of a sudden, you got to get it done. So, and that's the way it goes in construction. We placed concrete on the upstairs floor, on the second floor, Friday morning at 3:30. I was there, and we had this floor was in place by about 8:30, and got several others here. And this is what it looked like this morning. And if you look in that right picture, you can see Vista Way is getting there. They're going to be placing that concrete soon. And windows, can you believe it? Windows in the courtyard. That's on the south side, opposite of the cafeteria. And then the windows you see on the right, that's in the kindergarten and first grade wing in area D. Windows are in the courtyard there as well. Kitchen and cafeteria are coming along. You can see in the left there, that's where that blue drywall is. That's actually the stage. And believe it or not, we're going to place 2 feet of foam in that area, and we're going to place concrete over that foam.
Oh.
Yeah, styrofoam is going to hold 4 inches of concrete up off the ground there. That's
That's a great picture. That's when you said it was the drone?
Yes, that was from a drone.
The
BTC.
Michael Craig zone?
No,
Drone?
no, not yet. We're working on that, aren't we? We're working on that.
Oh, I can't imagine you two with the drone. We need to talk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite a picture, isn't it? We have several more. Then we jump to the agri-science complex, and we're at the swine building there is it is near complete as far as the exterior goes. There's some trim on the opposite side between the two buildings that we can't do yet until we get them tied together, but that's coming together as well.
Mr. Cullen, are our pins here? Are the pins here, or are they still in order?
We're having them hold them.
Okay.
Their storage is better than our storage.
But they're ready when we say,
Yeah.
would we take them all at once, or if we got the swine barn ready first, would we do the swine pig pins first?
I think we're pretty flexible, and I'm thinking that they're going to want to ship them all when they ship them, would be my guess.
Yeah, because they may not know what's in what box.
This is the wall that's going up between where the cattle would actually be pinned and the arena.
Hanging down?
And these are, you can see the trusses that are going in, that's over the classroom area. Got another better shot here. You can kind of see after they got a little further along there. And then this was just this morning, shot it, and they've got all of the joists across the front of that building, the restrooms, the concession stand. And what we're hoping to do is to be able to actually have an area above the front entryway so that any announcements that need to be made, a show or what have you, we can have a table up there so that you have a better view. And we really didn't think about that until I got to looking at it, and I thought, hey, let's build a counter there. And it's kind of a built-in plus there. Not going to cost us anything to do it. And here's the sheep and goat buildings going up now. And this was last week, and that's this morning. They're making great progress. And that's it for now. Any questions? We are, the target dates at North Side, we're, on average, I think we're still about 2 weeks ahead of schedule. And in some areas, we're a lot farther ahead than that. What threw us behind kind of on the average was that steel wasn't available when we needed it to be available. So there was some delays in shipping, but that's pretty much caught up with now, and they are They're catching up very quickly. As far as the crane goes, they're done with that, but they're still welding, they're still putting some decking and things of that sort in place. The agri-science, I would say that we're pretty much right on target. We're not as far ahead as we were because the panels simply took longer than we thought. We had never done any panels like these before. So, and then, you know, they're affected by the weather greatly. You're not on top of that steel building when it's wet of any kind. So, any questions for me? Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Craig.
Just keep going.
Going to present to us on the zone?
Wait, I'm sorry. Yes, actually, we wanted this, I just wanted this to be in the agenda so everyone remembers
Okay.
and knows that we have these meetings scheduled. And if it becomes apparent, sir, that there is a need for other meetings because we don't feel like we've reached everyone, or because we feel like there are more questions or things that need to be changed, then we will do that.
Sounds good. Thank you, ma'am. I guess at this point, we'll go backwards to Ms. Bridges for recognitions.
Can I get all the students and Mr. Green to come up and be recognized, please? Board, we have a very special group of students to recognize this evening. They couldn't all be here, but you may have seen the news coverage a couple weeks ago when students from our construction and building trades junior and senior level classes delivered 98 handmade thin blue line flags to the Waxahachie Police Department, and that was one for every officer in the department. Officers were so excited and honored. We are truly grateful to Mr. Curtis Green, who came up with the project, and all these students for their hard work in executing this labor of love for our first responders. I'm going to read a list of the students who participated in making the flags. Mario Alanis, Nacio Alexander, Horatio Alvarado, Bryson Bechtel, Cody Burdine, Ernesto Casas, Francisco Serran, Jeffrey Cornejo, Kobe Courtney, Anthony De La Cruz, Brian Dominguez, David Insinia, Roderick Escobar, Samuel Attindi, Joshua Gates, Nicholas Gomez, Marco Gonzalez, Phoenix Hawkins, Brandon Hernandez, Tommy Hudson, Sierra Jones, Ivan Lopez, Daniel Loretto, Jacob Major, Alexis Martinez, Carlos Martinez, Christian Mirabal, Cesar Navarro, Brianna Parker, Austin Robinson, Samuel Rogers, Zachary Sanchez, Angel Santiago, Jesus Silva, Caton Somerville, Carlos Tapia, Rafael Trujillo, Josu Vasquez, and Dominique Villanueva. We would also like to recognize Lowe's here in Waxahachie for their donation of supplies to build the flag. So thank you all for your hard work. We'd like to get your
You gotta go up here and get your picture made.
As they're giving their pins, would you like to elaborate on the letter we got from PASD?
Oh, yes. We received a letter from the Texas Association of School Boards. They saw the news coverage of the project, and they have asked Mr. Green and some of his students to come and present at an upcoming TASB event. So, it's very exciting. Perfect. Congratulations, great job, y'all. And Mr. Rogers, I understand that they're going to be doing thin red line flags soon. I just didn't want him to feel left out, Mr. Green.
He's not gonna be, they won't be left out. They have fewer people. They have fewer people. Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you for it.
He's doing homework. Hey, Elizabeth. Good to see you.
on any of the data that board's interested in, but the board has given us goals, and we do not want to wait till the end of the year to see how we're doing on the goals, so we have checkpoints along the way. And CTE, the instructional program, military readiness, we have those goals that we check. So this is information, we don't give you every test along the way, but we give you enough information so you will know that we are on top of it. We have some commendations. As you can see, there are some campuses and some areas where the teachers are just knocking it out of the park. And then we have other areas that we're working on, but we know where to spend our time on those areas that need working on because they self-identify as opposed to areas that we seem to be sailing along. So we don't have a presentation unless there are questions, sir.
Give you guys a second to look if anybody has any questions.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Over and over where it says under suspected causation, it kept saying teachers being self-contained, teachers being self-contained. And I know back when school started, that was a big thing with the teachers too. It was a big change. And I just would like to understand why that change was made.
Well, I think the question, maybe we didn't say it right, because I don't think, Dr. Holt, if you would, or Ms. Mott, whoever's better equipped to answer that, I don't think you're saying our problems are that we now have self-contained, or that we don't have self-contained.
No, I think that it is a transition, though, from going from departmentalized to the self-contained. And so we're having to work on they're not teaching just one course anymore. So now we're having to work with them on multiple courses so they have multiple preps to do. So that's one of the things we're looking at. And you add into that the fact that ELAR is all new TEKS and new resources. And so that has complicated that a little bit as far as professional development. So we're working on that and offering not only PLC information and professional development for teachers, we also have a lot of extra after-school professional developments that we're offering. We're obviously looking very closely at lesson plans, making sure that those are aligned when where we see the needs are, where we can help. So we're making good transitions, but that's early, just some of the things that have been pointed out by campuses, by the way, because we have a tracker, and whenever their DCAs come out, they actually analyze the data themselves as well, and they put that into their data information they turn into us. So we're also reporting some of their findings as we help them.
Well, I know when I taught elementary school, I was always departmentalized, and I felt like we did a much better job that way because I could focus all my time on math, especially with all the testing and everything. That is just my opinion. When a teacher is spread thin over all those classes and has to prepare for each test, for each grade level, for her grade level, or his, it just...
Something that we're looking at as far as best practices. We've tried both ways, and Ms. Mott and me and the curriculum specialist and Dr. Hope, we were always looking at that to see what is the best. And we are making some changes for next year because we're trying to fine tune that.
Good, so some of the teachers will be able to departmentalize again?
In fifth grade, I believe.
Well, there was no directive to go everybody self-contained. That was never the directive given. They're either self-contained or departmentalized in teams of 2. So the only teams that were affected were that we had a couple of teams of 3 at the 5th grade level that were asked to go to a team of 2 instead of 3. So there was no directive to go to a self-contained classroom.
Unless you are a single.
Now, we do have more self-contained this year because we have so many specialized programs like our GT cluster teachers. It depends on how many teachers you have certified on that grade level. They have to have a GT certification in order to teach those students. So a lot of them did go self-contained because they didn't have enough teachers on that team with the certification to do a teaming approach to the grade level. So that may be why we see a few more self-contained classrooms. Of course, at Wyoming with the STEAM integration, the self-contained is the best approach with NICE certification so that they can integrate the STEAM engineering process across all content areas. So there's that, but that campus has been that way since it opened.
And we also try to tell teachers ahead of time so that if they want to some want to be self-contained, some want to be departmentalized. We had one instance at Marvin. We said you will be departmentalized, and then we had to move a teacher because of numbers. So that put it back to, one of them was going to have to be self-contained. So it's kind of be a fluid something because it just doesn't, but if teachers have a preference, they need to tell their principal, because on every campus, we will probably have some departmentalized and some self-contained. So they need to let it be known, I don't care what grade I teach, I want to be departmentalized, or I don't care, I want to be self-contained. So not everyone's going to get their preference, but we're large enough that if someone is determined they want to be one or the other, we could find a place, I'm almost certain, we could find a place for them. Thank you, Dr. Holt.
I had a question.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to give some accolades because I'm looking at the 90% approaches and everything and across the board. There's some of the groups that scored, went up over 15 points. Marvin went up 16.25 points, but they didn't meet the goal. So, it says no on that goal, but they went over 16 points. Dunaway went over 14 points. We need to be sure that we're patting those teachers on the back and being sure that we are.
Because we are after that growth progress. We are truly after growth progress.
Right.
Obviously, we want to meet.
Right, but, they have a larger, I understand they have a larger amount they have to grow, but, some of them grew 16%, 15%, and we need to be sure that we are patting those teachers on the back for that.
We're stressing it, so that we can, not only do we want to pat them on the back, but by bringing them to your attention, that's also, and hope they're on TV, and they know that the board is also saying, good job.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I just, we were mentioning, talking about the teachers being involved and letting us know. I would just hope that, that we collaborate and then that we ask teachers also, not just wait for them to come to us, but that we include them as part of the team in what we're doing going forward as far as the, I had heard that maybe there was some.
So like if in first grade, we feel strongly about that being self-contained. So if the teachers say we want to departmentalize.
Oh, no, I understand that.
Okay, come and help
The
me.
upper grades.
Which one? What do you consider, I'm not certain what you consider upper. Starting at third, fourth, second? Because we kind of go by best practices.
Sure. Okay, and maybe we need a report on those best practices. We might need a report on that just to see what, I don't know, I'd like to maybe get some more information on that.
On why the district chose to do it the way
More
they chose to do
self-contained
it?
focus.
Okay. Sure. When would you like that?
Whenever,
Okay.
just whenever is fine.
Thank you, Dr. Holt. Moving along to letter D, our social media policy.
Hi again, board. Per the board's request, I did some research on social media policies at a number of districts in our area. From the information that I gathered, other districts are primarily using that same TASB model employee handbook language and board policy language that we are around social media. Waxahachie ISD is actually the only district among those that I looked at that does have a CQA local board policy covering district and campus social media accounts. So we are actually ahead of our peers in that particular area, which is great. What I did notice is that Waxahachie ISD's technology acceptable use policy that students and parents sign each year is less robust than many other districts. And so my recommendation would be that we look at that policy and at updating it for the 2021 school year to make it more robust, and that we also have our employees sign an acceptable use policy as part of their Safe Schools training that they do every August. Can I answer any questions for y'all?
Assume we can expect you to bring something on that back to us at a later date.
Of course, absolutely.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bridges. Unless somebody has something to add?
Thank y'all.
Letter E, our 6-week grading cycle.
Yes, sir. I understand we go back and forth. District over the years has been six weeks, 9 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks. No one can remember when exactly started, but it seems to be something that we've not quite settled on. And because of the DBAs that we exactly what we're testing here, it will be a smoother cycle because our kids who struggle actually do better when there's a 6 weeks reporting, and parents can be much more on top of your child when they're not, and it gives them another chance to learn. I wanted to tell the board that we talked to the principals. I think it was one principal's meeting, then we came back because they went back and talked to their staffs. Now, it was not unanimous among the staffs, and it wasn't unanimous among the principals because this is one of those, actually, it's probably, elementary tends to want to go to 9 weeks, and there's a tendency for secondary to want to 6 weeks. And the reason for that is when you're at secondary, the 6 weeks falls under UIL. So when you don't have the same schedule as UIL, we don't have quite the confidence that we are, it's not breaking into the same cycle. So we've got to make certain we're asking for grade checks when you wouldn't naturally ask for grade checks. So we're going to be going back to the 6 week cycle and see if we can't alleviate some of the problems we've been having for reporting.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I think the 6 weeks is good, and yes, for athletics and all that, but that's not really what
Well,
I'm
but fine
concerned
arts
with.
has as
I'm
much reporting
concerned
as
the struggling
athletics.
students. And I think it just helps the struggling students. It gives them a more opportunity.
I think it helps parents too. I think there's something about every 6 weeks that seems to be on everybody's mind as opposed to 9 weeks. But I don't know why that is, but it does seem to be that way. So we will start getting our grades, getting our new reporting cycles and teams and getting everything set up. But again, we're trying to make all of our decisions really early, like calendar and other things, and rezoning, so we can have as much notice as possible. So we wanted to get this 6 weeks grading cycle out there. I agree with Ms. Timmerman that parents are going to welcome this. Not all of them, but most of them.
Anybody else? Thank you very much. Letter F, community connections.
Well, even though I see Ms. Robinson here, I'd like to just kind of give an introduction. I've been in many districts, and I've never had a list of resources like I've had in Waxahachie for parents and staff and counselors. Somehow a word got out, or there was some thought that we didn't have, I mean, someone was asked for something, and the statement was made, we don't have anything like that in Waxahachie. And that really upset me because I have never seen anyone, not only does Ms. Robinson have this extensive book that's in here, I've never had a district that she updates. She does not wait till the end of the year to update it. If something changes, if this church doesn't support, giving like a female and her children who may get kicked out of the home 3 nights at a hotel, I mean, she puts it in there. I mean, everybody knows there's numbers, there's addresses, there's contact people. It is a fabulous document. And in case anyone else had heard, we didn't have such a document. I wanted everybody to have a copy and it to be brought to everybody's attention that it is a unique resource. And hats off to you, Ms. Robinson. Great job. So, and if anyone else, you want to know what community resources we have, look in that book. And also hats off to Waxahachie and the churches, the civic organizations, because if you've got a problem, this book shows that Waxahachie is standing there to help. Money, food, staying in a hotel, hooking you up with different resources, counseling, free counseling, you name it.
Very good. Letter G, financial audit.
For tonight, we have Kirk Evans here to present our external financial audit for the August 31, 2019 fiscal year end. At the end of this report, I believe it's listed later in the agenda, you will be asked to approve the report as presented.
Thank you, sir. You have the floor.
Good evening, board. Good to be with you, Dr. Kane. I know you've been provided a copy of the report and a lot of information there for you to read at your leisure, but I'd like to go over a few points with you and then field any questions that you may have. On page 1 of the report is our audit opinion letter. This letter outlines that we have audited the financial statements of Waxahachie ISD as of August 31st, 2019, and that management is responsible for the financial statements, and our responsibility as the auditor is to give you an opinion on those statements. And our opinion, as outlined in that report, is that it is an unmodified or a clean audit opinion this year. Page 14 of the report, we're just going to look at some general fund items this evening. Like I said, there's a lot of information there, a lot of columns, a lot of different funds that are presented that the district operates, but primarily tonight we're just going to focus on the general fund. On page 14, the bottom of the page, first column, we're going to look at the fund balance. Your total fund balance at the end of the year for the general fund, you ended with right at $28.5 million of general fund balance. Now, $5.5 million of that fund balance has already been allocated or assigned or earmarked for special projects, different projects. But that leaves $23,238,000, as you can see there, of unassigned general fund balance. Now, that represents monies that are available to be spent at board's discretion. Those are unassigned numbers, the $23,238,000. That number, when you look at it in relation to your annual expenditures and your annual expenditure budget, right now that unassigned amount in your general fund represents about 27% of annual expenditures. And so what you like to see, what you want to have is a minimum of 25. That's what TA likes to see. And that gives you about a 90-day operating amount there in your general fund for operations. So you are in excess of that. So you're in good shape. How many days did you say? 25% fund balance ratio represents about 90 days. Yeah. Let's go over a couple of pages. Page 18. This statement displays all of your revenues and your expenditures for the year. There at the top of the page, you see your three different revenue categories. You ended the year in the general fund, again, of $87.5 million of total revenue, broken out and presented in three different categories: your local revenues, your state program revenues, and then your federal. Now, most of your federal revenue, this is just a portion of your federal revenue shown in the general fund. Most of your federal revenue is displayed in other funds that we won't be talking about this evening, but the general fund did have some federal revenue this year. Your local revenue represents about 55% of your general fund revenue, and the other lion's share is the state, which is 41%. So just a percentage breakout to show you there. Midway down the page, your total expenditures of just under $87 million in the general fund. And then there's a few other items that get added to it and subtracted, not much this year, but the third line from the bottom there, the net change in your fund balance. That number, the $603,000, that represents how much you added to your general fund balance this year. So you added $600,000 surplus to the general fund. Also on this page, it displays some payments you made. You made about $7.5 million during the year of debt service payments in principal. You also paid just under $10 million in interest on your debt. And you issued $21 million in new bonds this year. And so at the end of the year, as of 8/31, the district had just under $281 million of total outstanding bonded debt. Okay? Because you do receive federal money in excess of $750,000, we also have to perform a single audit. And that's just additional procedures that we have to apply to one of your federal funds. We do some analytics in order to choose that. This year, it was your Title I fund that we audited, and we apply different and various procedures to that to determine that you are in compliance and that you're following the rules and that there aren't any issues. So this year in your Title I, I'm happy to report that turned out fine. There are no issues in your federal funds, and we did not discover anything that was handled inappropriately or anything of that nature. So That's also good news. The remaining part of the report, a lot of notes, a lot of other schedules. There's debt schedules in there. There's capital asset schedules. You're free to look through that at your leisure. We also provided you a management letter. It's a board letter that we present, separate cover from this report, that we give to the board to communicate anything that we may have discovered or found during the audit that we need to make you aware of. I'm happy to report that report is standard this year, that letter, and we did not have any issues conducting the audit this year, did not have any disagreements with the management. We were provided everything timely. Our time here was well spent. We were on site about 4 days, I believe, 3 or 4 days, and got everything done. And Ryan and his staff provided everything we needed.
And you will be also the audit firm that audits the special bond audit that we asked for.
We're working on coming up with the language for that engagement right now.
Okay. So so we'll be seeing you in the spring.
Yes.
And that's the one that you specifically wanted from this audit firm.
So with that, I know it's a lot of information in a short period of time, a lot of numbers, but I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
And board, we don't like to give you something, a document this thick on the 9th that we're going to ask you to approve it. But I've yet to be in a district that we didn't get, one time out of 5, maybe you can get it early because you guys end up looking at so many things. So we are going to ask you to approve it unless you see something that's giving you a heartburn. But we can always bring this gentleman back if there's some clarifications you would like to ask later on. Or if you don't feel comfortable because you haven't had it enough to study, then we will understand that as well. But again, that's under the consent, but now would be the time to ask or to say that, so we would be able to pull it off consent. And there's no shame in asking to wait for a month to read it.
My question may be for Ryan. This is as of year ended August 31st. Have any of the numbers changed substantially? Did I understand him? He said 281 million of bonded debt. Has that changed?
At this point, no, sir, it hadn't. There have been no debt service
All inclusive of
payments.
the 120 and.
Yeah, there have been no debt service payments made since the end of August, and there's been no new debt issued since the end of August.
Okay. And the fund balance?
Fund balance, your fund balance is going to be decreased a little bit from the progress on the agri-science facility. Remember, that was a project that the board funded out of fund balance. In all honesty, though, within this year, we funded about $2 million worth of payments for the agri-science facility, and you saw that we added about $600,000 into fund balance for the year. It's probably not an appreciable difference in fund balance from where you are, but that would be the only difference at this point.
Is this typically our low point of the year as far as collections and tax,
October, November is probably going to be about your lowest for cash, just because that's when tax statements are going out. January is going to be one of your more, January, February is going to be when you're typically sitting on the most cash. Property value or property statements would have been due at that point. But TEA kind of makes up for that with their payment cycle. They'll give districts more money, especially in our payment class. We're in payment class 2. We get more money in September and October, and then it dwindles off in November, December, and January, and then it picks back up again in February. For the rest of the year, they know when you're expecting cash, and so they don't give you a bunch of it to sit on at the front of the year, but they make up for it at the back end.
Mr. Colby, this is kind of an aside question. Won't we be getting bonuses from House Bill 3 in April is what I've read?
There are many different provisions of House Bill 3 that will come up with additional funding streams. I don't know if the commissioners fully come up with all the rules and obligations that go on the back end of that, but I do know there are some other streams of revenue to come out of House Bill 3.
I heard last week, April.
Well, one of those,
That may
actually,
be it.
Dr. Averett and Dr. Holt and Ms. Mott will be going to, there's a provision for a teacher incentive pay that is funded by the state. And again, we don't know how much, although they guaranteed that whatever we come up with, it would come up. But they're not even going to find out the rules until Monday. They go Monday to a meeting, so they haven't even laid out rules on some of their simpler programs, but it would allow teachers could have as much as a $30,000 incentive pay that comes from the state each.
Any other questions, guys?
Open up, yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're doing a good job.
We're at the consent agenda now. With that, we're going to move to section 6, the consent agenda. Would you guys like to approve this all at one time, pull something, discuss something? Whatever your pleasure may be.
You're on to this, and you're getting. Who's next?
I move we approve the consent agenda, items A through E as presented.
Have a motion.
Second.
Approve the consent agenda as presented. We'll now take votes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes 5-0. How's that?
Who didn't vote?
I don't vote. I'm the president at this time. I break ties. There you go. That'll move us.
Drunk with power.
Or if I messed it up, I will apologize to the television and the audience. I'm not used to doing this. So, but we will keep going. To section 7 on action items.
You did good.
I'm making her laugh tonight, guys, in her entertainment for tonight. Letter A under the action items. We'll take these one at a time as to not get mixed up.
Yes, sir. The appraisal district, every 2 years, the appraisal district has an election for candidates for the district board. And if you will look on page, one of the pages that lists the different entities, looks like it's page 199, the different entities and the different votes. And because of how our schedule falls, some people like to vote early, some people like to vote later. We're one of the ones that vote later, and it's in December. So I would like to recommend that the board give Charles T. Tom Abram 56 votes, and that the board give John Knight 100 votes, and they give Joe Pitts 755 votes. I know Joe Pitts is one of the gentlemen that we recommended, but it just takes 834 votes actually to win, and that would give him more than what he needs. And there are some other candidates we would like to support to work with Mr. Pitts.
I have a question. I thought that I read that the city gave their votes to Joe Pitts.
They did.
Am I
They
wrong?
gave 320, though. See, they have so many fewer than we did.
Okay.
So they gave 320, and actually 11 came from Cedar Hill City. So this will give him more than 834. And this will give John Knight 915 and Tom Abram 834. Already, John Tabor, is it Tabor? He got Ellis County actually has 826 votes. They gave them all to him, and he just needed 824, but also he got 10 from the city of Italy. So he has the votes he needs to win. Ken Marks received 834 from Midlothian ISD. They, like Waxahachie ISD, can actually elect their own person to make certain that the appraisal board reflects the philosophy of the school board, or the city council, or the Ellis County Road.
Any discussion?
Would you like me to say that again? Not the whole thing, just the number, what I'm recommending? Okay, okay. Okay. And that adds up to 911.
I had heard that Ms. Davis also would be an exceptional member of the board.
Let's see, Ms. Davis is, see how she's doing. She actually received 387 from the Midlothian City. I mean, no reflection on her that we're not voting for her.
Right.
I mean, it's nothing against her. And I've actually heard very good things as well. We could get some votes. That's it. Thank you.
Votes was given to John Knight.
John Knight, 100 votes. Tom Abram, 56. Joe Pitt, 755, which is more than Joe Pitt's needs and a few more than the others too. And so we could throw more votes to her, but you have to have 834 to win and mathematically
She's
I
eliminated.
think it's past that.
Okay. I didn't have a chance to study it.
I think she was nominated.
Well, they probably nominated too.
I'll move that we approve the allocation of the votes for the appraisal district, 56 for Charles Abram, 100 for John Knight, and 755 for Joe Pitts.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. McCubbin, second by Mrs. Starlinger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Jim hit over. As we move to letter B, under section 7, I assume Mr. Allenstein is here to speak with us.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Well, tonight, we're very pleased to be bringing you for final action the local update for many of our policies. Those policies are specifically listed in tonight's agenda. This recommendation comes to you from TASB first, who did a local review with us, and Carolyn Austin, our specific policy consultant, was here at our last board meeting. We presented the policies to you at the last meeting. We have made a slight change to DEC local within the proposed policies. It's on the 7th page of that proposed policy, and it would reduce the notification period for retirees to provide, instead of 6 months notice of their intent to retire, 3 months notice of their intent to retire. It's a more favorable move for those retirees as they contemplate their futures. Many of those retirees continue on with us as substitute teachers in their retirement. And we want to give them that time while also giving the district time to look to fill the big shoes they're leaving. And we believe that while we've enjoyed the 6-month notice period, we can still utilize that 3-month notice period and essentially create a win-win for our retirees and for the district. So we urge for that slight change. Beyond that, Ms. Kriegel raised some great questions in regard to CO local. And while we're not making specific changes to the policy at CO local, we will be bringing back to you a proposed administrative guideline to make sure we're treating all of our students, particularly our students with overdue balances on their meal accounts fairly and providing them fair and equitable meals. So we urge tonight approval of the local policies as recommended by TASB and your administration.
And we'll be bringing back local guidelines in January.
We sure will, along with a first review of Update 114. And I'll. Yes. Thank you, Ms. Kriegel.
I have a question.
Thank you, Ms. Timmerman.
Just some clarification. The DEIC has a big job, and it says in here that we have been meeting 4 times a year. Now we're cutting it down to 2. Why is that?
That's just a stated, in board policy, what would be essentially a local minimum, but that doesn't mean that that's the number of times they would meet. That it's to keep us in compliance with law, and so long as they meet twice, they'd be in compliance with law, but we can have them meet 6 times.
I think we had 5 scheduled, and if someone said we need a meeting or something comes up, it doesn't take anything to call it a meeting.
Oh, okay, good. That's good news.
A lot of the changes were conforming to things that are going on throughout the state, and we made an overhaul in relation to what used to be the district advisory team to the district education improvement committee. But no, just because to comply with base policy, there would be 2 meetings, doesn't mean that that's all our DEIC will meet. And as Dr. King said, we have 5 scheduled meetings with the likelihood of a 6th meeting this year.
We have the minutes posted. We took a little while longer because of Thanksgiving that we did, and then Ms. Stevenson, the posting was on election seminar for 3 days. So it took longer than usual to get the DEIC minutes posted, but we like to do them as soon as possible. And we posted on a separate tab on the website because we wanted everyone to know the minutes. We thought we were doing what everyone expected on district calendar and was intended to bring it to the board in January. But we're finding that there are some teachers who think, I don't know if it's a misunderstanding or a misstatement or whatever, but anytime we upset, there's a number of people upset about something important calendar, we're going to take a step back. And we're going to talk to the principals Thursday and see if they can go back and just say, can you see? Plus, I'm not certain why it's on DEIC. I mean, that's not really a function that it has to be at DEIC. I think it's been kind of nice. And it may be cut out from campuses because it's hard to come up with a calendar that complicated at a meeting with that many people. So what we're thinking about is letting campuses actually say, this is the calendar we would like to present. It reflects our campus and our campus needs. And the district administration will not be the one making the decision which calendar we would let it go out for an election. Now, there's going to be boundaries here. You've got to have so many days and so many this and so many that. And I think that it'll be easier on DEIC so we can get back more to instruction. And then I think the campuses not feel like they have more may feel like they have more input because their campus literally is represented by accountants. Instead of not to compromise, that's what I'm saying, but not well. I'm not saying it well, or you wouldn't be looking like that. It would not be, now the calendars we bring are compromises, like everyone gets together and agrees, as opposed to a campus being able to say, I mean, the high school has very unique needs that are very different from Turner. And so high school is more represented because they're a larger size, proportion, as opposed to smaller campuses. So we're going to try this to see if teachers don't feel like it. They may walk away from not getting the calendar they want. There's a difference in feeling like it was a fair fight and your calendar lost as opposed to I never had a chance. So they're going to be making that adjustment. And what Mr. Aubenstein is saying is this policy actually gives us it's a minimum. We don't want to do the minimums, but we do have a lot of wiggle room on DEIC. And calendar seems to be something that's really, really important to teachers. And so we want to recognize that. And so we're going to go back. In fact, Ms. Mott's going to send out an email tomorrow morning that says, we're going to back up on the calendar, because actually we've gotten 134, 140 votes. But we're going to say, put a hold on this. We're going to look at the calendar again from the campuses and re-vote. But it'll still be a vote. It's the popular vote, right? And I think this district for years and years and years has done the popular vote. Okay, so that won't change. But I think people will feel like maybe their voices were heard more and it wasn't a compromise, but actually their calendar.
Any other
Mrs.
questions?
Timmerman.
That didn't mean.
No, I said thank you, Mrs. Timmerman, that was all.
Anybody else? Letter B sitting in front of us, I will be glad.
Motion to approve additions, modifications, and deletions to the local policies as presented as a result of the review conducted by TASB.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second. I have a motion by Mr. Rogers, a second by Ms. Timmerman. Do I have any discussion? We proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
I have a question off script while you're here.
Okay.
Progress on our safety and security audit?
Not technically on agenda, but just as just a matter of fact, we've had 5 campuses visited, or 5 campuses and/or facilities visited. So progress is going well towards the 2020 audit with Region 10.
What month do you think it'll be? Have they projected a month that it would come back to the board?
I don't have a firm date from our auditor.
If they've just done 5 March, we would be lucky, probably more like April.
That's very fair.
I would rather us be slow and get a thorough, minuscule audit.
We've had, I believe it's 3 campuses and 2 buildings visited.
Very good. I'll step off script too. I see a young man in our audience today. Would I assume you'd be here on a homework project?
Yes,
What kind of homework?
it's for government.
That's what I assumed. I assume you're one of our dual credit students?
Hey, are you giving him a grade for how he's running this meeting? Are you going to give him a grade for how well he's running the meeting? No. Okay.
Well, here's one of our young people, and I don't even know his name, but he's doing a homework. Hats off to you, sir.
All right, yay!
With that said, we are done. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a second? Moved by Mr. Kriegel, seconded by Mrs. Timmerman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Nay. Motion carries 6-0.
A round of applause for Mr. Craig Stuartfield.